Hey, Address Teen Stress. I'm Abba Shrestha, and welcome back to our Beyond the Brain series, where we interview health professionals and experts about mental health in order to get a deeper insight of different aspects of stress and mental well-being. Today, I'm here with mindset coach Harry Lewis. Harry, can you please start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Thanks, Arla, for having me on. So yeah, I'm Harry and I'm from Gold Coast, Australia, and I'm currently a mindset coach. So that sort of just goes into helping people achieve their goals and also work through some mental health barriers.
Can you share a bit about your journey into life coaching and youth mentoring? What inspired you to focus on mental health?
So I think that sort of started in my teen years when I was in high school, and I think it was just very hard to get the right support on how to work through your studies with your mental health. So I really struggled, obviously, with bullying at the time, and it really made my experience through my last few years of school very difficult. So after that sort of happened, my transition from high school to a career was a lot harder than it needed to be. And it sort of made me think, I think students really need that support with their mental health to be able to transition into the career or just the life after school. So, yeah, I think being bullied and having my own challenges with mental health has really kick-started what has been my career with mental health and mindset coaching and even youth coaching as well.
On the topic of mental health and you talking about your personal experience with it, what do you see as the biggest barriers to teens seeking help for their mental health?
I think it's just the ability to talk about it. I think that's something obviously I've struggled with as well in the past, just being able to have someone to talk to about it. So the ability to, whether it be a friend or to a family member, just being able to be okay with not being okay. And I think that's where a lot of students see mental health as a weakness, but at the end of the day, everybody has mental health. So I think it's just, yeah, as I said, the ability to be able to speak up and have someone to talk to about it, and the fact that it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And how could you explain mental health, or how would you explain mental health in 3 words and why?
That's a good question. I think it's it's health. It's our health at the end of the day. It's health. It's what we all have. So I think it's important that everyone knows that regardless of your background, your diversity, whatever you do for work, whatever you study in school, that mental health is always going to be with you. It's not a bad thing. Mental health. It's not a. It's just your health. It's your overall health that everybody has. So you just have to keep on top of that, and usually everything else sort of works out in life. And that's what I tell all my clients that I have, is that if you can take care of your mental health, everything else in life will sort of fall into place.
And then you were talking about how mental health is just health. In the realm of health, we have physical health and mental health. So a lot of people say that they think one is more important than the other, and some people think that they're equally important. What is your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I definitely have a strong viewpoint that mental health is probably more important, because I think you need to be able to have a good mental health to be able to do the physical stuff as well. But it's all about balance at the end of the day. You need to be able to do a bit of both, whether that be, meditation for your mental health and then, exercising for your physical health. It all works hand in hand at the end of the day. So I think I believe that mental health is definitely the most important, because it allows us to do the other factors of life and health, like physical. But it's all about balance and just having the right balance. And I think that's where a lot of students struggle with having that balance, because they're obviously studying. They go to school, they come back from school, and then pretty much it's near the end of the day, and they've got to study in between that. So yeah, definitely balance is definitely needed with that.
And then going back talking about your career, so can you share a moment or some kind of experience in your coaching that really impacted you personally?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest moments that I remember is someone who was really suicidal. and they were studying as well, I think in their last year. And yeah, just it was a bit of an eye opener to realize how silent mental health is and how actually common it is in the world today. A lot of people, obviously, we don't actually hear about it. If you don't watch the news as well, you probably won't hear anything about mental health and suicides. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot more common than people think when it comes to people that aren't coping with their mental health. So, having this person at the time who was very suicidal, they were very close to ending their own life. So, that for me was a very big indicator of, okay, there are really people out here who are struggling to the lowest of lows. So I was able to help that person, luckily, in the end, and help them with their mental health, which was obviously a really great outcome. But as I said, it was a very big eye opener for me to know that there's more than just that one person or two people in the world that struggle with their mental health. So it's a lot more common than we think. And I think that's just what we got to all do as a job together to take care of our own mental health, but also look out for others that are around us as well.
Yeah. And then alongside of mindset coaching, I know that you've always also done sports coaching. So with that being said, what role do you believe that physical activity plays into supporting mental health for young people?
Yeah, I think I can sort of use my own example here that I love playing sports because that was my outlet when I struggled with my mental health. It was my way of clearing my mind, and that's what a lot of people do, whether that be going for a walk or going for a run. It People will say it clears your mind for you when you do that physical type of exercise. So I think it's definitely important, as I said, it helps with the balance of things, having a sport or a community to go and play a sport in, but it also, yeah, it reinforces your mental health. So being able to be, as I said, be a part of a community, have friends that you can also talk to. You're pretty much ticking off friendships. You're ticking off your physical exercise, which also ticks off your mental health. So it's definitely plays a big part, especially in my life. It's been part of my life for 26 years. So being able to have sport in particular has really helped me. But it's not the sport I think that has actually helped me, like the physical part. It's actually been more the social side of things with the people you meet. So that's probably the more important part, having that aspect to it.
Yeah, and talking to like different kinds of professionals in the mental health field and doing these interviews, I realized that sports is definitely a really big outlet and a very big realm when it comes to coping mechanisms. So, aside from sports, what are some other coping mechanisms that you see that are very effective?
Well, for someone who never really believed that meditation would work, meditation is definitely something, one of the biggest habits that I do currently. Just taking a few deep breaths in the morning, telling myself a bit of self-positive talk that you're going to have a good day and you're going to go help people. That's what gets me through the day every day. So, a bit of meditation, staying hydrated. That's probably one that's doesn't seem like it's a helpful thing, but it really sort of goes unnoticed, and it's really underrated how much drinking water and staying hydrated really helps just with us staying focused throughout the day and really keeping us healthy, to be honest. So I'd say, yeah, meditation, staying hydrated, and just having conversations. And it doesn't have to be a role revolving around mental health, but whether that be with your family or calling up a friend that you haven't spoken to in a while, just that little bit of socializing can really sort of just boost your day, whether it just be little bits or talking to someone every day. It just really helps you stay focused and makes you stay present as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then aside of being a sports coach, you're also a youth leader. So what does that position mean to you, and how do you define your role in that capacity?
I think that's sort of why we're having this interview today about youth and the mental health sector, is that I think that's where we need the biggest help at the moment, especially where I live right now. Crime rate with youth is at a sky high at the moment. So obviously being a youth leader, inspires me to really try and make that change for our students so that they can transition into a career, into traveling, into part-time work in the easiest way possible. Because I think there's so much stress that gets built up when you're in your last year of school, thinking about you have to find your career, you have to know every single thing, you have to have everything planned out. And yeah, as I said, it just builds so much stress. And I think when people watch this, is that they're going to agree, they're going to feel those pressures in life already in high school. And I don't think that's what we need to build for our students. And I think it all starts with one, supporting them and teaching them how to deal with their mental health, how to use it to their advantage and how to get the most out of it. So being in a position to help students and do workshops for them, it's just, yeah, it's we definitely need more youth leaders in the world, I think, because obviously our youth is only getting bigger and bigger. So the more the merrier.
Yeah, and then kind of adding on to that, as we're talking about the topic of youth and teenagers, can you share your perspective on what you think today's current state of teen mental health and stress is like compared to how it was when you were a teenager and why that might be similar or different?
Yeah. I think, yeah, it might vary in different areas. Obviously, again, I'm in Australia, so it might be different to where everyone else is in the world. But I think there's definitely more technology and more resources available in today's world. But unfortunately, I'd be honest to say that the mental health is probably getting a lot worse for teenagers at the moment. And I think that's just having that safe space for teenagers to go to and talk about it and creating that environment for them to talk to. So yeah, it's unfortunately it definitely is probably increasingly worse at the moment with the mental health issues and not the having the right support. But as I said, the resources are there. It's just creating that space for them to talk into.
And then why do you think it's important to be educated on the topic of just general mental health and stress, no matter what age you are?
Well, yeah, as I think everything you do in life, it involves your mental and physical health. It from waking up in the morning and going to work or going to school, you need your mental health to be there. It needs to be healthy. It needs to be active so that you can pretty much make choices and make decisions throughout the day. When you deciding what to cook for dinner every night, you have to literally think about that. It literally takes your mental energy to have to think that. And if your mental health isn't where it needs to be, simple choices, become harder and harder. So when especially you are a teenager or if you're an adult who's got a family and you have to make these very important decisions, it's just very hard to make them if your mental health isn't there. So simply understanding more about where mental health is, the stigma around it, those understandings and knowledge can really help you, one, benefit yours and also help others who may be struggling as well. So, especially if you're a student, every subject that you learn is very important, but I think, yeah, mental health and your own personal physical health is just as important.
And then on the concept of coaching and your experience with it, what do you think are some misconceptions that other people have on your career or some misconceptions that you think that other people have on the topic of mental health?
I think the biggest one that I've come across is probably the need between therapy and coaching. So I think it's a good one to sort of clarify to people. I think coaching is more just sort of having, again, it's similar, it has similarities to therapy, but it's more helping people move forward in an upwards direction and sort of identifying goals and working with them. Whereas therapy if is more you have to sort of go back in the past to figure out what's been sort of, holding you down. So when it does come to most mental health situations, I always do recommend a therapist over a coach in my position. But if it's someone who sort of understands where their mental health already is and they just need that boost forward and a bit of a path to go on, that's where coaching comes in. So I'm more of someone who just helps people with their general goals, whether that be around mental health or just your everyday goals of wanting to get a job, earn a specific amount of money, or fitness goals, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think just understanding the difference between therapy and coaching is definitely important, especially if someone is currently struggling with their mental health, I would definitely say see a therapist first. And when you feel comfortable in that area, or if it's not working for you, then a coach is probably your next best option. So overall, that's probably the biggest misconception. Other than that, um, look, either way, both of those will really help you out, coaching or therapy. But yeah, I think just the stigma around mental health as well. If you can understand the stigma around mental health and sort of what creates the reason why people think mental health is a weakness, that's probably a very important subject to understand more.
Yeah, I definitely can see how there's confusion between those two. So thank you for that clarification. And then I have one last question for you. What advice would you give to someone out there that's struggling with their mental health, or some kind of message you would just like to leave to our Address Teen Stress audience?
Yeah, great question. I think what I sort of mentioned earlier is that it's okay to not be okay. You know, I'm a coach. Everyone in my family thinks I have it all together and that I don't have any bad days, but that's not true. I always have days where I wake up and I just don't feel like going to work, or I don't feel like exercising, and I'm an exercise freak. And on some days I really don't feel like exercising. So some days you're just going to have those days where you wake up and you're not 100%, and it's okay. For myself, I always put pressure on myself and I've made myself feel guilty and why do I feel bad today? I've been eating right, I've been doing every single thing right, but I still don't feel 100%. And that's just life, unfortunately. It's just going to happen and you're just going to be okay with that. And it's if you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, you have to remind yourself that they are just normal human emotions. And that's what we are, just humans at the end of the day. So, one, don't put pressure on yourself when you have those days. And two, people are going to tell you what they think they need to do when you're having those times. Always back yourself and do what you think is right, but be open to advice as well. Don't just shut people down and say, oh, no, you're wrong. But it's always good to just take advice, but also do what feels right for you. You don't always have to socialize when you're struggling with your mental health. Sometimes just a bit of your own space, meditation could be the way to go. So basically, you'll hear plenty of tips on what to do, but you just have to figure that out for yourself sometimes. Other than that, just be okay not to be okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Harry, for talking to us about mental health and your experience with it throughout your professional career, as well as thank you so much for helping us address teen stress.